That's right. Welcome back to another information packed episode on Ready, Set, Real Estate. I am excited. Of course, you always hear me say this, but no, this is serious. I am seriously excited about today's episode. Why? Because I get to bring on our first guest of 2023. I know I said last year there was just so much going on in real estate that I had to get us caught up during the pandemic, COVID, and just so many rule changes, so many laws. We've had to pivot this, that, and a third. And so 2023, I am a woman of my word. And I said I will be bringing show guests back. And I must say, I am really happy that I can pin this man down to a time. He's from the East Coast, Anthony Lee. He's a Philly realtor, developer, father. I've got so much positive things to say about him. But before I do that, I just want to give you a taste of Anthony and just kind of why this is going to be he should be on your if you're purchasing in Philly, if you're interested, this man should be on speed dial for you. Check this out.
Be happy for your teammates. It's about the team. It's not always about some games you're gonna have a good game, some games he's gonna have a good game, some games you're gonna have a good game. So I always tell people like, yo, I ain't the smartest person. I ain't, got all the right ideas, but like, just spending time and being able to collaborate, we gonna figure whatever we figuring out in life. So when you get large lines of credits with the credit cards, that was how I was able to, like, now that I got stuff in motion, now I'm able to scale and I can do 2 projects at a time. I don't want that house is messed up, but it's all right, because again, if you buy the ugliest house on one of a good block, you're gonna always make money. And this is one of my first multifamily, well, not first multi, but one of my first large multifamily builds. This is a 6-unit apartment building that I purchased end of last year. If you ask me, I'm the P. Diddy of real estate. I was already a mogul in my mind. I knew where I was going. I just needed everything else to catch up.
Anthony, welcome to the show. I just
Look, with an intro like that, look, I'm like, wait, that is my video. Thank you.
I love that because as we are going to be delving into, I'm a mindset girl, right? When we first connected, I mean, you co-create your reality and your existence. And shameless plug, Anthony Lee is author, co-author of Real Estate 100, the Teen and Millennial Investment Blueprint. I want to first say Anthony's been doing a phenomenal job of just connecting with the community, the youth community, and letting them know about what's been going on here. And how do I know that? Because the numbers don't lie, right? So numbers don't lie. Sales is interesting. I kind of noticed this in terms of sales. It's like, summer goes off and then people, everything that you've done and put out there, they're like, ooh, I need to get myself right. New me, new year type mentality. Everybody orders the book November, December, January, kind of like last of the year or January, February is what I was noticing as we've been talking about the reports and the sales. But I said, this is so funny that people's mindset is just, it's almost predictable. And I can appreciate the work that you've been doing. So again, thank you. Welcome to the show. Talk to me, Anthony. What's good?
Nah, thank you. I appreciate you having me. Hi, everybody. It's always good to connect with you. It's been a minute, so I just appreciate, giving me the honor to get on the platform with you. It's been a while.
Absolutely. So let's just start with a couple things, okay? And let me do this, you guys, because he's got quite a bio here that I just want to fill you in, okay? So let's slow it down. Anthony Lee's a licensed realtor in Pennsylvania under the Good Neighbor Real Estate Group. He's got several years of experience helping sellers create income and opportunity from selling their assets. So liquidating and maximizing their equity position during the market. He also works alongside Marlon Belfon or Belfon.
Yeah,
how do I say that?
Yeah.
Belfon. It's almost like French, Marlon Belfon. Marlon Belfon. And so you've done like I've done, right? So expanding your partnerships and your relationships so you can serve other areas. So this allows you to tap into the Delaware community and service the clients there as well in more ways. So good job in expanding. And I've seen you do a couple things. I really want to delve into the growth of Good Neighbor. You've recently switched companies, I think, and I would love to hear more about that. Uh, Focusing on development, right? So as a developer, also you've been independently and jointly working with others to create unique and affordable housing through rentals and or flip resale projects. So I think that's what attracts a lot of people to real estate, right? Because they think it's, um, you know, I don't think people really preface high risk, high rewards before everyone highlights the rewards.
Right, right.
So I think that's key for people to understand. And we get to talk with you firsthand and, of course, connect with you in just terms of the lessons and the things that you've learned during this current market. And, of course, award winning author, Real Estate 100, the Teen and Millennial Investment Blueprint. Like I said, shameless plug here. Definitely want you to get connected. By the way, I put it out there to do more career days because I want to get more. We've got to get more representation in this business. We've got to get more youth to realize just kind of the different avenues in real estate. So you'll be hearing me talk more and more about that. And like Anthony and I are aligned in those core values about breaking those generational curses. And I really appreciate it. So I'm going to leave a quote here. This is Anthony's quote. It is important to teach students about the opportunities real estate can create. Are you still using your other tagline about real estate?
That is
It's
not.
not.
So I haven't used it as much, but it's been coming back in different instances.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback off the kids. So
Go for it.
in Philadelphia, I'm a licensed agent. My team, or I should say my umbrella, is
Yes.
Good Neighbor Real Estate. I'm licensed, like you said, I move offices now. So now I'm under Mosaic Residential Team.
Okay.
So they have a development arm. So they're doing large
Nice.
development projects in Philadelphia, like you said, for affordable housing and some, traditional income people as well.
Yeah.
But the brokerage is a black and brown brokerage in order to serve and provide opportunity for those who are normally underserved or unheard. And they're doing large projects from, I think it's 120 units right now that's finishing up. And then there's a few other projects that was already completed. So there's always something going on under the brokerage. And then on my side, the residential side, I just got promoted to the sales manager for the residential side.
Okay. Listen.
Thank you. Literally, it's only been like 2 weeks. So you guys are actually getting it like fresh off the press.
Hot off the press. Congratulations. Doing big things. Great way to just kind of come into 2023. Good momentum. January is such a hard month professionally for entrepreneurs because we go through long cycles, especially in real estate, right? So we've got long pay cycles depending, unless you get that nice 10-day, 7-day cash deal, right? Other than that, we've got long pay cycles. So to come off of the end of the fiscal year and then come out swinging in January is something that it's not for the faint of heart.
But I think that also goes to where you're at in your business. So
yeah. At
some point, you'll be in a position where you can take off November, December, because you already have so much business, it'll keep flourishing in January.
Got it.
But as you're building the business and depending on what level of building you're in, my mode is I just keep my head down and I keep working. So I have some breaks in between. They're just not long because I'll just say my motivation is not to let the momentum die down.
Okay.
And it's kind of easier to keep stretching and growing as the momentum can carry you even when things slow down, because once that momentum slows down, it might take 3 months before another deal comes out of escrow or goes into escrow. So it's like you don't want those gaps, because as an entrepreneur, that can be a little stressful.
Yeah. A little stressful. So let's talk about, what do you do? Because this is kind of the theme that I'm going with first quarter, especially as we were talking about the height of the market. So I want to, let's describe what your local market experienced during the pandemic boom. And then I want to talk about maybe some tips and some strategies you implemented to kind of hedge against the stress of now the mark, you feel it differently? Because I think as professionals, as working entrepreneurs, everyone, right? I've been reading tech is just like 10,000 layoff, 15,000 like everybody's taking a hit.
Right.
So how do we, what should we be doing? So let's talk about that pandemic era, your local market. What was that like?
So Philadelphia was booming. Philadelphia is a market that was, I would say, for a long time that has been slept on.
Oh,
And as soon as the pandemic hit, because I was in the middle of flipping a property when the pandemic hit, and
okay.
I was very nervous because I had all my chips in that one basket.
Yikes.
So one thing that I'll share with people, it's hard to be an agent and an investor if you don't
Talk
have the
to
proper
us.
team.
Come on, Anthony.
So again, that's where I've really been able to grow and scale during the pandemic, because I honestly found my tribe and my team. Just like before the pandemic, like when we first connected, the stars aligned, I found you. So it's all about really finding your tribe and finding your team, because again, you can get through a lot of these things with people who have experience or resources that you may not have on your own tool belt. So the Philadelphia market went crazy. I thought I was basically going to lose everything because the pandemic hit. They said we couldn't go outside. I think I stayed in the house for 2 days. I said, babe, my wife, I got to do what I got to do. Hoodie, mask on. Contractors, y'all want to get paid, meet me at the house. We rehabbed the house that they said I only was going to be able to sell it for 200. I ended up selling it for like 260.
Nice.
During the pandemic. And that was really the beginning of, you could see the neighborhoods again that we always had strong feelings about because we were from that community.
Yeah.
Now everybody else sees it, and when I tell you it was like a wildfire,
yeah,
it was crazy. So now you're in a situation where the market has shifted in every neighborhood, just about. I'm gonna just say just about in every neighborhood. So that same 200, 250, 260 house now I probably sell for 210, 220.
No, already? Oh, yeah. I had goosebumps when he said that. I felt it all in my knees just now.
and that started about 4 months ago. So people haven't even caught up to it because they don't want to. Some people don't want to believe it. But again, I'm in it, and I'm telling you, I went from selling a house for 50 grand more than what we thought we were gonna. My lender didn't believe me. I didn't think it.
Right.
I only had a gap of I thought I was gonna sell it for 210, 220. My lender said 200 is the max. You get out of here.
Yeah.
I sold it for 250 or 260.
Yeah.
So now I go to do another property coming the end of the pandemic, I guess we'll call it, just back in the fall. I did everything I always do, bells and whistles. I wanted to get 275 in a good neighborhood. I dropped the price down to like 240 and still didn't get an offer. But mind you, I had 3 other colleagues that were listed on the same street.
Okay.
They couldn't get what they wanted to get either. But the difference between me and them, or at least one of them, I'll say, he paid such a good price, he could afford to keep dropping his price. So he eventually sold for like 220, 225 maybe.
Okay.
But for me, at the price I bought it at, I bought it with pandemic numbers. So I paid a little more than what I should have. I rehabbed it. The rehab price, regardless of pandemic. So you can't get around it, especially if the houses are distressed. So one thing again that I did pivot as this pandemic has been ending, I don't want the houses unless they're giving them to me. I'm talking about giving them to me. Like people say, oh, you're stealing the houses. No, I'm not stealing them because you don't understand the cost of the rehab. Okay. And I'm not cheating the end client on the rehab if the property calls for it. So I have to get it for the price that affords me to do the proper rehab. So my thing now is I'm getting grandmom houses with carpet, panel walls, but it's got good bones, good mechanicals, the roof's not caving in, and I just want to do lipstick on the pig. I just want to do floors, bathroom, kitchen. I'm in and out. I'm out and I'm rehab. I went from rehabbing houses in 6 to 8 months to now 60 to 90 days. 90 days is pushing it.
Yeah, 90 days is pushing, especially you are still actively. So I want to say kudos to you for still being active in doing it, because as we are now in this, we came off like you said, the pandemic. We're looking at so let me just pause for those of you who are tuning in. I just want to say shout out to those of you who are catching us on the replay. Thank you. Drop #replay. Let us know that you're tuning in. We like to jump in and catch any comments, questions. We are live. We are streaming live. So, of course, if you have any questions, you can ask, like drop the comments and questions, because even though, and I think this might be a Philly thing, this brother's talking really, really fast, but I can keep up because I'm high energy. I'm like, duh. Yeah, you are speaking really fast. So, because there are like three things you said in there, I want to slow down for those who are just kind of weathering this storm of flipping. So, you talked about strike price, right? So, we talk strike price when you're in the development investor, that conversation. This is a real estate literacy education platform. So I love to talk about terms. I love the vocabulary. So when you're in the rooms with people, you know what to say. So he talked about acquisition, also known as strike price. And so he said, Anthony was sharing, I can't reduce it too much. You know, I can't reduce my flip too much is because I acquired it during the pandemic at pandemic prices. So that's key, you guys. Take notes right now because this is nothing but gems. I'm telling you, we came out swinging. I didn't even get into my blurb about, my news. I just came out with Anthony and we jumped right in. So I just want you to know we did it a little differently for you all today. Strike price number 2, he said, can't get around the cost of the rehab. The cost of the rehab is what it is because you're picking up distressed property. I know we talk about it here, but what are just kind of drop maybe some formulas that you can kind of quick help people understand what should you factor and what are you building in terms of contingency, like the oopsies. I open up the drywall. I really appreciate all your videos when you are doing those projects. You open up the wall, you come down to the basement and you see there's some leaking and there's damage. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So just if your budget's 80,000, give yourself another 10-15% for room for error.
Okay.
And I mean that's any project. Never go in like, and I talk to a lot of new investors and they struggle with this was the rehab budget and I can't spend any more than that. But now the rehab's on hold because the budget didn't work out to be the budget.
Yeah.
And you don't have any reserves or any emergency funds for it.
Right. So reserves, emergency funds, just to be clear, is that in your 10 to 15% or is that now?
No, that's in your 10 to 15. Okay. So you can do it two ways. So dealing with the lender, you can give them what the number straight is if you can afford to come out of your own pocket if any of those emergencies happen.
Got it.
Or if you're a person like, yo, I'm strapped for cash, I just need to get the deal done and get over the hump, and you have the room, if you know the number is 80, tell them it's 90 or 95, just so you give yourself some room and cushion for error. So as things go wrong, you've already got a built-in cushion where you can pull money from different places. You
got it built in. Very good. There's something you shared that I've heard my husband tell me all year long that you said it. And it's funny, right? Like your spouse partner is telling you like, you need to do it this way. And then you said it right now. And I was just like, yeah, that's what he's been telling me. So honey, I hear you. It's not because Anthony said it, but I heard it louder because, it
was a reminder. It was a
reminder. Thank you. It was a reminder. So honey, it was a reminder, but this is what he said to me. And this is what you highlighted because I needed to hear this as a professional broker, owner, and advocate for the community. I have to get past this feeling of robbing, right? Properties. Like you said this term, I'm not touching it. I'm not buying it unless they're giving it to me. And so that's a challenge for someone who is an advocate for the community. But then you're like, this is a business, right? And at the beginning, during, and the end of the day, the numbers have to make sense. And so those are the conversations I was having last year. Those are the conversations I already know I will be faced with this year as we are shifting into a foreclosure arena, right? Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little bit about that. I want to say thanks, but yeah,
about this. No, so I'll tell you. So right there, right, what I had to get over, and you know what happened? I tried to be generous to the sellers.
Oh.
So I do this work for 6 to 8 months. But now I have to go back home and tell my family I didn't make any money after being dog tired, having attitudes, and spending resources. Because I told them I got it. We're going to do X, Y, and Z when I get this back or when I make this money. So for me, the look of disappointment I can't tolerate it. I can't sleep with it. That's the motivating factor. So again, it's not personal when we have these conversations about numbers. And now the presentation is a little bit better. I'll say it's better than what it used to be. Like, you don't walk in.
What was it before? Hold on. What was it before?
So you used to walk in and just be like, "Oh, this house is trash. I'm only giving you 20,000," or like, "This is what you want me to buy? Like, what is this?" So now it's, "Hey, Mr. Seller or Miss Seller, how much do you think this house needs in renovation? Oh, you think it only costs you 40,000? Okay, but granted, you may be handy. You may have family who's handy. Unfortunately for me, I only know how to screw in light bulbs, and that's as good as it gets. So I have to hire professionals that are licensed, insured, that can do this to a certain standard and code. In addition, the cost of what the money costs me, this is why I'm offering you this price. If it works, cool. If it doesn't work, I can put my realtor hat on and say, hey, allow me the opportunity to represent you, and I'll sell it to try to get you the number you want. But if you want to sell it today, this is the number I can pay. But what I'll do is I will go a little lower than what I'll really pay, because normally they want to feel like they won. So if I say 30 or if I say 20, they want to say 40. I was going to do 40 anyway, but I knew, depending on who I'm dealing with, people got to haggle just to haggle.
Just to haggle. And so let me say this real quick, because this man just gave you about $10,000 worth in a script. He gave you about $10,000 worth in a script on how to lock in a wholesale contract if you want to jump into wholesaling. But if you're a real estate professional who's also an investor and getting your feet in the water, you're trying to figure out, what am I saying? I need to timestamp that right now. Like,
that was at 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Timestamp that and memorize that one.
Right.
That was gems. Like I said, I appreciate him. Make sure you connect with Anthony Lee on Instagram. He's at A Lee Real Estate. Let's talk about this. When we jumped into the segment, I highlighted this video. I saw Mom there. I saw one of the kiddos was in the video.
Both of them. Yeah, they were there. That was the youngest. No, that was the youngest.
Yeah. And, just as a father, just kind of helping with the basketball, team leading. And I want to talk about just kind of where your group has grown. Like I said, so how did scaling that start off? Are you putting it out there like we're hiring, or you're just recognizing talent?
No, so it's funny. Honestly, the talent kind of comes to us. So like you said, it was me and Marlon for a good while after we originally had a group. That group fell apart as we were transitioning and trying to make adjustments. Yeah. I tell people, honestly, it all kind of, again, works itself out in its own synergy. So we meet people in all different walks of life. Mm-hmm. And it's never a thing of, again, like I'm recruiting you, or you're like, not that you're not a star, but it's not like you're a star. We want you because we want you with us. No, we did business together, or you come from another referral or somebody else and they see something in you and they're like, yo, you need to go hang with us. So my team, actually, we're licensed Pennsylvania, Delaware, Jersey, and Maryland. So we have relations and somebody on the team that's licensed in all of, basically in the area of those markets.
Yeah.
And then some of the people on my team, they work 9 to 5. Some of them are full-time. So we've got a variety of different people from walks of life, teachers, healthcare providers, caseworkers. One of our ladies on the team, she's the first lady at a church. So again, we got all walks of life.
I love that. So let's talk about that, because that's one thing that I've encouraged you to do, and I really appreciated that. I saw you do more of it, which was promote this investing in real estate while working a 9 to 5, because the misinformation, and I think the most damaging information, is when people look at HGTV. In fact, one of my husband and I enjoy going to this crepe restaurant, and the owner, we mentioned we were in the business, and she said, oh yeah, I watch HGTV in Tampa, Florida. I don't know which one. She was like, oh, I thought that was so cool. And I'm like, yeah, no, because right now I'm thinking about applying for my my carry and conceal permit. So like I don't see that it's that cool as right now. I'm thinking about I got to go get licensed so I can carry a gun so I can protect myself while
Right.
I'm in this business. So I think that's interesting that you have you created a group and a team that you're supporting those who also have to make a living as well, because those pay cycles are huge. So talk to us about that, because oftentimes we hear brokerages that say, no, if you can't do this full time, we don't want you.
No, so I get it on both sides. So the struggle is if you working on, I'm gonna just say out. Let me give you steps. A 9 to 5 is the cheat code to whatever your goals and dreams are. The nine to
Yes.
five is the funding to help you do whatever it is you're doing. The question is, how are you allocating the funding coming from your 9 to 5? Most people don't have the discipline or don't use the discipline to cut certain things off so that they can put that money where they're trying to get to. So for me, I started out with a 9 to 5. I had a 9 to 5 I was laid off from. I had a 9 to 5 that I quit. The only reason why I was able to quit is because as I had that 9 to 5, I was acquiring property and I was building my business. Once my business got rolling, that was when I said, hey, I can quit. But like you said, like it's tough trying to go to banks to get funding and you don't have proper tax returns. It's tough. And that's, again, when you're talking to clients, they can feel the thirstiness. They can feel you need this deal. And
Commission breath.
And the difference now in my business, I'm not doing deals out of survival. I'm doing deals out of stepping stones.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So in that, and that's why, again, I think I've been able to build my team because I'm finding out what my team needs, what they want, how they're trying to build, and let me fill the gaps for you. You do what you do and let me fill the gaps. That 9 to 5 is the cheat code. You're more bankable than I am, even being self-employed and having years of experience, because your base income is guaranteed and the banks like it.
That's right.
So with some of the cheat codes I know now, like I tell people, problem is I'm not employable anymore, nor do I don't even know what I would go do at this point, but if I could find something that maybe I would do and, I would actually enjoy it, I might have a 9 to 5, even if it was part-time, because again, you just want that money to be consistent. And the goal is whatever money you make, whether it's part-time, full-time, that money has to go work for you. You don't work for the money once you get it. Make the money work for you.
That's right.
And I mean, that's honestly the secret sauce to anything that you're trying to do, real estate or investment stocks. That money has to work for you. If it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, there's an issue, there's a gap, and you can't grow. So as the money, you get a couple hits, you take a couple losses, but let you hit a couple singles and doubles. Those singles add up. And it's funny you talk about that HGTV stuff. People get that confused. They're like, oh, it's all roses, peaches, and roses. And it can be some days, but I mean, I'm having conversations with investors now and my colleagues, and we're like, yo, this is some bull crap, but this is what we signed up for.
This is what we signed up for. Absolutely. LaDonna says, right on. I hear you. So listen, that was so much gems, so important to hear out loud, because when people, especially LaDonna's a notary here, and I work alongside with her. And when she did a notary for me for a client of mine, I think around November, December, I don't recall. And then she shared to me and she said, I'm a full-time notary. And I was thinking, yo, in my mind. So I'm saying this out loud to LaDonna. I'm like, yeah, that commitment is next level for you to say, I'm going to be full-time self-employed entrepreneur, especially as we're in a volatile market. But as a notary, I think everyone needs a notary. Just like when you realize in real estate, everyone has a real estate need because life events trigger those. So those who are losing their jobs, those who, job loss, death, marriage, divorce, job relocation. When you place yourself as advisor in real estate as opposed to transactional agent and you're chasing constantly, I think it allows you to be more fluid, flexible, productive. And you touched on not being commission breath. I taught a class on that. I talk about that. because people feel it. I oftentimes receive clients, I'm sure you do, when they say that client made me feel like a check. All they wanted to do was get paid, right? The oftentimes counting the money, spending the money before the deal's even done. So very important in terms of what you just shared. Go for it.
No, so real quick too, the young lady you said that's a notary, the
Yeah.
cheat code, again, she's already in a real estate space. In your book, you talk about different ways to get into the real estate space. A notary, you're plugging in, you find out where the lenders are, where the deals come from, the who's who, because you're just notarizing documents and being a secret squirrel.
Did you say secret squirrel?
Yeah, you're being the secret squirrel.
The secret squirrel. That's right. You've got quite a book of business of everybody who's in there. I love secret squirrel. You hear that, LaDonna? Listen, getting all this information. So let's talk about. Okay, so now we talked about the pandemic and the shifting and the pivot, and you were very transparent, and I really appreciate that because that's what this platform is about. I get solicited a lot. Let me say this, a lot. When I posted your thing, I got so many requests of this person who scaled their business and now they're all doing this. And I was like, yeah, I'm not trying to have someone come on and sell a pipe dream to people, because people really need to understand this is not, you don't buy houses in 30 minutes. You don't flip them and rehab them in an hour-long episode and then everything's like so perfect. This is real life situations. So as we're talking about pivoting, now I want to hear about, you shared in the video about scaling and then going for that apartment building. And was it 6 units? Because now that's commercial.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
So which part do you want to start with?
Oh yeah, so mindset. Yeah, because I'm like, let's tell us about let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about mindset. So shifting from single family, and you're kind of building portfolios here, and then deciding, and I don't know if it's necessarily a shift that you've had to do from I'm going to go residential commercial, because the numbers, the financing or percentage is different, unless when you were doing your single family investments, if you were still using LTVs of like 60, 40, 80, 20, I don't know. So
the formulas are slightly different, but they're more beneficial in commercial, where it's not only ARV driven, it's income driven.
Got it. Okay.
So you can really manipulate the numbers based on what the income will be once you take over the property. So I'll just start with this. I ended up selling 12 units to my good friend in Philly, Dwayne Johnson.
Nice.
As an agent, I'm providing the service, I'm selling it, but I'm also not going to lie. I was motivated and slash hating, because he's my friend. I know him. We play ball together. And it's like, if he could buy 12 units, why can't I?
Okay.
So again, it was motivating. So it's never like, me and my friends, we compete with each other, but it's like an honest, healthy competition.
It's a healthy competition. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's the kind of circle I started surrounding myself with because of the pandemic.
Got it.
Because again, we're in uncharted waters, and you need to hang around people that do more than you, maybe a little less, but you all bring it together. But in that, again, I saw them do it. I watched them step by step. Thing is, I found them the deal. I just didn't know how the deal worked, to your point, because it was completely different. I've only done single family to triplexes.
Right.
So now I watched him do it. It's still hard money. The numbers just cost you a little more because the prices are a little more. Okay. But what happened was, I happened to be on the internet looking. No, let me back up. What happened was, I took another client to see the 6 unit.
Okay.
My good friend, he's a boxer here in Philly. He just won his last fight, J. Rock Williams.
Awesome.
He didn't want the property. So I said, yo, you sure you don't want it? Because I'm looking like, this looks pretty good to me. So he didn't want it if it wasn't at his number. So what I did was, again, I tweaked what I would do for the rehab budget to make the numbers work. The property had been on the market for 2 years on and off.
Right. Let's pause there, as I want to want you to describe the mix, right? So how many units, bedroom count, vacant, or occupied, just kind of walk us through that. And let me know about your time. I'm sensitive to your time. You're good. Okay.
No, so 6 units, 6 units plus a garage. an unattached garage. 3 units were occupied, 3 were vacant.
Wow. Okay.
So initially, my goal was to kick everybody out and start over because the building was run down. The rents were really low. Come to find out, the owners were suing each other because one was stealing from the other, and it was a whole situation. But to my benefit, they were fed up and they had to sell because of court now. That was why it's been on the market on and off so much, because one wants to sell, one don't. But one's also keeping the rent, and the other one's not getting the rent.
And he's not getting the rent. Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Right. So this was a real sour situation. So I had basically submitted an offer. It took me 2 months to get it under contract. I lowballed the mess out of them just because it'd been sitting. And again, I was feeling myself. I'm not going to lie. And because of networking, I ended up finding a commercial broker that did investment loans and would lend up to 100% financing.
Wow.
Of the purchase and rehab. So it was like I had no choice but to buy the property now that the funding wasn't a problem.
Now you had no excuses.
There you go. And I said to my friend I just sold the 12 units to, I'm talking myself out of it. And he said, he cursed at me and said, if you don't I'll buy it. So that's like basketball talk. Check it out. Let's go.
Right.
So from there, I said, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to buy it. So I was able to buy a $300,000 6-unit building and only come to the table with $30,000.
Wow. So only come to the table with $30,000, and you still rolled in the rehab in there.
So I did. So I have some of my rehab money in there because again, the rehab didn't stay to rehab. I thought I was only replacing certain things. I ended up changing out 6 heaters, 6 water tanks. The units that were occupied, these people didn't have proper electric. They didn't have proper fridges, stove. It was like every other unit. Either the fridge and stove didn't work, or the fridge didn't work here. The stove didn't work here. So things I didn't account for. I luckily, through business credit, though, I had a reserve account with line of credit money, and I could do what I was doing. So I kind of extended the hard money loan of rehab budget plus part of my line of credit. But it was all good because it's like, hey, I'm making improvements to the building so I can increase rents. And that was the game changer. So I ended up telling the tenants I was going to kick them out because they weren't responsive or trying to communicate with me when I took over the building. So then they called me like, yo, we all got caseworkers and somebody pays the rent. We shouldn't be getting kicked out.
Yeah, I was going to say that because you're like using that term loosely. Yeah, I'm going to kick you guys out because you're not responding, but at least it makes them kind of say, wait.
Right. And you're talking about in the city, you couldn't evict at the time. Eviction was, and not to mention, I bought the building without any renter's licenses because they didn't have them. But again, I just had to let them know, like, yo, I will start the process, good, bad, or indifferent. The old me, yeah, I don't really start the process. I might just change some locks. But now that I'm a real estate professional, I'm a professional.
On record.
I do things above board. So call the lawyer, start the paperwork. But in this case, I didn't have that issue. They responded. I ended up connecting to the caseworkers. I got the rent transferred next month. I'm getting money from it was 4 units occupied. So 2 units I'm getting the money for. The other 2 units were regular paying tenants, but they were long-term. The one tenant was like an older grandma. She was on dialysis, using a wheelchair. She didn't have any support. So I raised her rent like $25 because I felt bad. And then the other person upstairs, he fought me for like 3 months about raising the rent. He'd been paying $500 for a 1-bedroom. And in his right, he should have, because again, he didn't have any working hallway lights in his apartment. He didn't have any kitchen, living room lights. He didn't have a fridge. He had mini fridges like it was a college. He had 2 of them, grown person living like this. But because the rent was so low, he wasn't complaining.
So what were market rents for that? His 1-bedroom, he's paying $500. What was his market rent?
He should have been paying at least $700.
Okay. Yeah.
So what I did his unit almost last. So the 2 vacant units, I renovated those, call them like my refurbished rentals, do the flooring, paint, new appliances, new cabinets. And now I put butcher block for countertops instead of granite, save on my rehab budget. Outside of that, reglaze, paint the bathroom walls, some new fixtures, and you in and out.
In and out.
In and out. You just got to do one unit at a time. And like I said, the other units, they had some tenants. So we did some things. We did the whole common area, redid the roof. That was a big budget buster. Front roof, back roof. Like I said, you're talking about heaters because of the pandemic. Normal heater, gas heater would have cost me like $2,500. I think I was paying like $4,500 a heater. And then that's not including the install. So we finally got it rented, and in my network, and I found another program, and this one I really enjoy. It's through basically the DHS. I don't know if you got Department of Human Services. It's like a program for children who are homeless or in foster care. So they have
housing for us. Yeah.
So they have a program basically for them when they turn 18 to 21. It's called independent housing in the program. So they pay for their housing and pay for them to go to college.
Nice. So this is who you've offered the other units to?
So now they rent.
Do they give you market or above market? Because
slightly above.
Right.
So they have a cap, but they do pay better than so I tell people, if you're in a rough area, you want to go to the program because and you give them quality housing, they'll pay like some of the other neighborhoods would pay you to be in this pocket or this community.
I'm so happy to hear you tap into those resources, because I think as a professional this is now my own opinion, as someone who's in the business of dealing with housing, investing, developing, I think there's a moral and ethical responsibility. Not everyone likes to hear it, especially when we, hear big companies who are just kind of just bulldozing people. When we hear affordable housing, people don't realize that's usually a percentage out of all the 180 units, 200 units. It's usually a very small percentage that is written in the tax guidelines and benefits for those developers to create affordable housing. And I have this whole nother issue right now that I feel myself venting on, is when we hear people say, let's build more affordable housing. I don't know in Philly if you guys are experiencing this, but they put up more apartments and more buildings instead of like co-op opportunities and condos and townhomes, so that we can increase ownership within the community. Because when you have people that are vested in the community, there's that being more prideful, there's being rooted, there's, establishing and building up that city. When I was there many, many years ago in Philly, I was watching that. I think the issue, people were leaving to, they were leaving to one of the neighboring cities, because Philly was not quite providing that for the talent in Philly.
So I'm saying again, I sympathize on both ends, the landlord and the people. So that's why I try to work with programs to find the happy medium.
Yeah.
The challenge is when you talk about the apartments versus the houses, for some folks, I'm gonna just say some, if you've never taken care of a whole house, or if you're the first one to finally get stable housing, most of these people come with more people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, this is how you can condense the wear and tear. This is how you can condense how many people come with them, because there's not a lot of space for bad opportunity per se.
Sure. Yeah.
So again, it's a struggle, because I've got houses, and I'm telling you, like, I've seen people move people in the basement that's unfinished and put sheets over the beams just to make it more comfortable, and they're just happy again to have a roof over their head.
Do you think that's an issue of housing or issue of affordability, and or both? So when we're talking about them condensing, and this, I'm going back to my husband's reading this, and I was reading The Color of Law, and he's reading Black Wealth, Black Banks, or Black Banks, Black Wealth. And so is it more so about, because the rent is X amount and I need to get another body in here to...
So I'm going to share something with you.
You're like, no, Lisa, no.
Well, I'm going to just say this. In our city, you can drive by somebody that's asking you for change, and they have an iPhone.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, these same folks that potentially struggle with affordability, but they have the means and resources to purchase certain items, good, bad, or indifferent, they find a way.
Got it.
So me personally, I think it's a mindset and an education thing.
And
that's just me.
Yeah.
Me personally.
Yeah, we go back to mindset and education. This is why I'm a real estate advocate. When a real estate literacy advocate is because the more that I don't know if you have if we haven't really dialogued about just kind of uh after we work with the youth and the follow-up process, but for me, I get to be hands-on in the room where I can see the thought process manifest to, no, I don't want to be an owner. Like, I don't want to be responsible for XYZ. Oh, I have to do that. Oh, I have to have this, and not want to be responsible for that. And so that's why I was very clear that I didn't want to be along the lines of a real estate homeowner advocate, because I found that not everyone wants to be a homeowner in the more that I've been doing this education push. And so now the pivot for me has been like, that's fine, but you can, if you want to be a business owner, you can own a storefront. Like, it's cool if you rent and then you own the building, right? Like, you run in your barbershop and you own the barbershop. That's fine. And so it's now painting that picture, which also allows us to have the conversation not just focused on residential, but on the commercial aspect of the business, as you're talking about. Here I've been able to focus on warehouses. I mean, because cannabis, right? Everybody's looking for a warehouse.
Right.
And just different avenues, businesses, daycares, like those are things that people are always calling our office for, is that looking to expand their barbershop, daycare. That's really popular with a lot of our clients. Of course, warehousing for cannabis, and depending on the area. So yeah, I'm with you there. And I think this year, towards the end of the last quarter, because the laws have changed so much on landlord tenancy rights, I feel like I've had to I not only educate myself more, but I also feel myself, like you, sympathizing on landlord owner side, right? Landlord seller, because here they're addressing the housing, and we've watched the most cruel act in the last 2 years. If you're talking about the stripping of a constitutional right for homeowners to be dictated by the government, which the Supreme Court found was a violation of their constitution, to tell them how to manage and what to do with their property. So I kind of, you kind of go, okay, so there are people taking advantage of this moratorium. By the way, ours expires this month. Yours probably expired already.
No.
No? Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, we're still in it. They keep extending it.
Okay, so they just voted to extend with exceptions. Like, this is why I say to people, this thing is not going to end into 2024. But as I look at the new California, I'll be teaching a class. California has a new foreclosure process, and it's along the sides that we're talking about, is this housing, addressing the issue of housing affordability, and kind of, don't let the big bad investor take over and, gobble it all up. So uh, 2023 is going to be amazing. So let's talk about, you spoke very fluidly about what you do about rehabbing, and you do it in a way that I know you can do this while you're sleeping, because I'm watching you, and when you talk about the financing, business reserves, and then this, that, and the third, I'm like, yeah, he's doing it so much that it's just like it's autopilot for you. Tell us what you've got coming up. You've got a February event. How do people connect with you? And
So reach out to me through social media, A-Lee Real Estate. You can send me a DM. We can schedule a consultation. Or I tell people, come to the event. So for those of you who are looking to get into the investment space, February 4th, myself and my partner, Lorenzo Jackson, we're going to be teaching you how to basically renovate these properties, what they look like from the pretty phase of how when they're finished, from when they look real ugly, from when we demo them, and the different levels of rehabs. And then we're going to teach you guys how to build the budget and where to get the money to do these things. And then we're going to teach you the exit strategy, whether you want to be a landlord, whether you want to self-manage these properties, or whether you're doing these properties for flip. But we're basically giving you the blueprint for you to leverage your 9 to 5 in real estate, whether, again, you want to be hands-on or hands-off. But we're giving you all the pieces so that you can, basically build your blueprint. In every class we teach, I want to say, just say if this is February, somebody will buy at least 1 to 2 properties from that class by the end of the year. We had a young lady, her name is Akila. She's from California. She's from Philly, moved to Cali. but she's buying properties while she's in Cali, but she's buying them in Philly, and she's been basically, going back and forth. She found the contractor, she found the lenders from coming to our events. I was like, "You found us from Cali?" She was like, "Yeah, I found you on the gram something," and she just plugged and played. Like she just dove all in. So her story is motivational, and there are some other people that we've been connecting with. In addition to that, too, I just want to leave you guys with this part as well. You don't have to be the real estate investor and be hands-on. Something that we don't talk about that I've been learning slowly but surely, you can be the money person. If you have $10,000, $20,000, partner with somebody who wants to be the person that gets dirty and gets in the trenches with these houses, but charge them like the bank charges you. So for instance, if you got $10,000, say, look, I'm going to give you 6 months, 8 months to borrow my $10,000, but you got to give me back $1,500, $2,000 for my money. That person can now take your money and use it to go do a real estate deal. Or it can be the emergency reserves for their real estate deal.
There you go. See, I knew it. We just came out swinging, and you're so generous with the information that you share. And I think that's also why we align, is because I don't believe in lack, right? And so many people have this thing about, games to be sold and not told. And yeah, there's one thing that everything you've given, people receive that as you're knowledgeable, you're professional, and you're an expert. I'm willing to invest in a consultation with you. Because you were so generous with sharing that information. You can give people the information, but when they have it, it's like, okay, how do I put the pieces together? How do I apply it? And so this is why when people are like, oh, you're training agents and you're doing all this information, why don't you keep it for yourself? Because I don't have a lack mentality. I don't have a lack mentality.
So there's the book I read last year called The Go-Giver.
I have it. Go for it.
So that book was like just confirmation for my natural spirit of wanting to collaborate and work with people.
Yes.
And again, if I can only do but so much by myself. So good, bad, or indifferent. Don't get it wrong. There's some people who take the information, run off, and never come back and do what they do. However, that still doesn't stop your blessings.
That's right.
So it's like, just be you at the essence of it all. And again, it'll come back to you. Sometimes you're making little, as they say, you're planting the seeds. The seeds might not grow for 2-3 years. And again, I run into people I met years ago, and they're like, yo, I appreciate you for giving me this. I did this. Or, hey, I got this opportunity. Again, I got this listing. Whatever it is, it'll come back to you. It's just a matter of when.
With that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you all for joining us on another fantastic episode. Anthony, thank you. This was fun. And we can't let the time go so far in between. Definitely bring you back on the show. And it's been a pleasure and fun. Thank you all for joining us on another information-packed episode on Ready, Set, Real Estate. Listen, we'll see you next week, Wednesday, at our regular show time. We did a special today because Anthony's East Coast time, but we'll be back here at 11 Wednesday on your favorite streaming podcast video platform everywhere. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you.